Hey, I'm Natalie, and I grew up in Philadelphia with my mom. My parents divorced when I was little, so growing up, I didn't see much of my dad. He's a professor at Harvard University, so when my Harvard acceptance letter arrived, it made sense for me to move in with him. I felt nervous standing on his doorstep, as it'd been a while since I'd last seen him. So when a young woman wearing a revealing dress answered the door, I was super confused. I stared at her open-mouthed. Did I have the wrong address? I'm looking for Mr. Hastings. I tried to stay polite. She chewed on gum as she replied, "Oh, sorry, your Mr. Hastings is taking a shower, babe. So, come back later." I placed my foot in the door so she couldn't close it and gave her a dirty look as I asked her, "Who exactly are you?" She smirked at me before she answered, "The lady of the house, of course." I stared at her in confusion. No way could my dad be seeing this horrible woman. She was barely any older than me. Yuck. She kicked my foot out of the way and slammed the door shut. I sat on the doorstep and tried to figure out what on earth was going on. Had my father moved house and not told me? Was she his secret lover? Maybe she was just a one-night stand? Why was she calling herself the lady of the house? I couldn't stand it anymore, so I banged on the door and called till my voice became hoarse. My father finally opened the door, and I saw that vile woman sitting cross-legged and filing her nails. He invited me inside, and that's when he told me the shocking truth. The rude girl was my half-sister. Apparently, she's called Samantha, and she's his daughter from his first love, who secretly raised her child alone and didn't let him know. But then she passed away and told her daughter to go find Daddy. This couldn't make sense. Who would have believed this story? A daughter fell from the sky and she doesn't even look like him? It was definitely a hoax. I looked her up and down. Everything about this fake girl seemed suspicious. She had loads of designer items, yet she claimed to work in some office? Yeah, right. Talk about a gold digger. Still, my father looked at her dotingly, so I knew there was no point in telling him what I thought about her. I just wanted a peaceful life, but Samantha was a nightmare to live with. I had this massive crush on this boy in my course called Stevie, and I invited him around to study, but Samantha flirted with him right in front of me. One time, she actually barged into my bedroom when I was in there with him just to make him open a jar lid for her. Feeling fed up with her ridiculous behavior, I decided to get my own back, so I applied superglue to her hair straighteners. I heard a scream coming from her room, and the next minute, she ran out clutching her hair. Turns out, she had cut a section of it off before it burned up. She just shrugged, chucked the straighteners in the trash. Then she used a hair clip to hide her uneven section of hair. What was going on? Why was she so cool about everything? She loved overpriced bath bombs. In fact, she had an entire basket full of them. So one night, after she dropped one of them into the bathtub and went to grab a towel, I splashed in some dark-colored skin dyes. And later, when she stepped out of the bath and looked into the mirror, she screamed. My father rushed upstairs to ask her what had happened, but she just laughed and said her fake tan had turned out darker than expected. Then she put her oversized sunglasses on and went out of the house like it was no big deal. It was strange that after so many mean pranks, she never exposed me and never called me out on any of them. One Saturday night, my dad was away on a business trip, and I saw Samantha getting ready to go out. Some man showed up in a Lamborghini, and she got into the passenger seat. Was this her latest victim? After all, she was just some no-good gold digger. I quickly got into my car and followed them. He dropped her off at some swanky bar, then drove off. Okay, this was weird. So I followed her inside to take some pictures for my dad. It was beyond my imagination. She went straight to the dance floor and started hugging the pole and dancing around it. And all the men screamed out excitedly. Let's see how Dad and Stevie react to this. When I was filming, I was suddenly pushed by the crowd, which made my phone change direction, and I found myself filming a guy who was cuddling two girls at the same time. Disgusting. But suddenly the two girls walked away, and I realized it was Stevie. He looked like a playboy and was going around touching the easygoing girls' butts. I guessed Samantha was the same kind of person, so that was why she always tried to seduce him. I was still in shock and disgust when two men approached me and asked me to go to a hotel with them. I told them no way, but this only made them more persistent. They grabbed my arms violently and tried to pull me away. Suddenly, the bar fell silent, where my half-sister Samantha was standing there holding two half-broken beer bottles and pointed to the two guys who were grabbing me. I did not understand what was going on when two door staff appeared and dragged the men away. Samantha rushed over to me and asked me if I was okay. At first, I was very confused, but then Samantha drove me home and explained everything. It turns out the Lamborghini is hers, and the man who dropped her off is just her driver. And she also owns the bar. It was her mother's, who had started out as a dancing girl and worked hard to better herself and start up her own bar. After she passed away, Samantha likes to go there to check on things, and being there makes her feel closer to her mom. Dancing on the floor makes her feel better, and covering every movement is a way to keep her beloved mom alive. As for Stevie, she knew he was a famous playboy at her bar, so she just tried her best to protect me from him. I saw a different side to this woman I'd been so mean to. She didn't care about all the pranks I played on her. Instead, she just wanted to protect me. I felt so bad and apologized to her for being such a brat and misjudging her. Now Samantha and I are close, and it feels good to have a big sister. I've agreed to keep her secret, because she's not ready to tell Dad the truth about her inherited wealth just yet. But when she's ready, I'll be there to support her.